Welcome back. This is the Weekend Report. I'm Masechaba Mposwa. After a successful matric year, Tanith Madurai not only secured 5 distinctions, as well as being in the top 1% for business studies in the IEB, but also secured us a spot at the prestigious Durham University in the United Kingdom. Tanith already has an impressive resume, having founded a youth and equality-centered organization at only 13 years old and attending Harvard University's annual undergraduate foreign policy initiative, plus Georgetown University's Global Youth Scholar Program. And she joins us now to tell us more about how she got here and the year ahead. First and foremost, congratulations. I am honored to be in your presence, Queen.
Thank you so much for having me, Masechaba.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, how does this moment feel for you and your family?
You know, so many people have asked me this, and I think when you finally see the culmination of years of hard work, I mean, it doesn't just start in matric. It starts from grade 8, and I think trying to find the balance between getting into university, academic, social life, all of these things. And some nights when it gets really hard and I tell my mom, like, I just feel like giving up, I think when you finally get to the moment that you realize all the sacrifice and the hard work was worth it, I think it just feels surreal to realize that, you know, when you actually put your mind to something, when I actually put my mind to something, I was able to achieve it. And I can only hope that my parents, I mean, I know they're proud of me, but I can only hope going forward that I can make them a little bit more proud. My mom and dad have always said to me that they're always proud of me, but the day that they're going to be the most proud of me is when I make an impact on someone else's life. So I can only hope that with all of these things that I have that make a fantastic resume, can only contribute to hopefully making the world a better place one day.
I'm pretty sure your parents will always be proud of you. You mentioned that you had moments where you wanted to give up. What do you think contributed the most to your academic success?
So I think I definitely, and it sounds really cliche, but I think everyone gives their teachers credit when they're done with school and you think, okay, that's a no-brainer. But I think without my teachers academically this year, and I think the whole class of 2025 can agree that it was strenuous, it was hard. These final papers, I think, were some of the most difficult times in my life just because it was one thing after the other. There was university stress. And I think without my teachers, without the support from my friends and my family, and I also said the other day in an interview that when you walk into a shop, and it's something so silly that no one really thinks about, but when you walk into a shop and someone says to you, oh, you're in matric, like, good luck for this year, how are you feeling about finals? It makes you realize that you have a whole country backing you. And I think it makes you so proud to be South African because you realize I'm really not alone in all of this. So I think from that perspective, it also kind of contributed to my belief that I want to go overseas, not just because I academically achieved it, not because I have the support of my family and my friends, but because I know I'm making my country proud. And I think for me that was the biggest thing.
And you speak a lot about support. You mentioned your teachers. I mean, who were those mentors for you? Who were the teachers that assisted you to achieve what you have managed to achieve in this moment?
So I think definitely I have to mention my Zulu teacher. I unfortunately missed my 6th distinction by 2%. I'm in the process of a remark. But my Zulu teacher, obviously I'm an Indian girl and Zulu is not a language that I was speaking at home. And I was really struggling in it, but I love the language. I love what it represented from a South African perspective. And I really, really struggled. And I felt like giving up so many times just because I thought, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get an A in matric. And she pushed me and she believed in me. And even now when I didn't get it, she said to me, send it for a remark. You know, you've got this. I believe in you. You're a hard worker. And I think when you have people like that in your corner, it just makes such a huge impact on the kind of person that you become, because you know that, okay, if this isn't what I wasn't necessarily good at this, I can still do better at it. And I think from a business perspective, my business teacher taught me so much about the world and made me interested in the subject. My history teacher taught me about South Africa and taught me about what's truly important and how I can do my part to contribute to making the country what I think can do to reach its potential. So I think all of those things contribute to wanting to go overseas and wanting to come back to South Africa and do my part.
Right. And speaking about going overseas. I mean, you've been admitted into Durham University in England, which is like one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Has that always been your goal? And what steps did you take personally to achieve the goals that you have?
So initially, when I first decided that I wanted to go overseas, I was actually 8, and it was something really, really silly. And I saw them speaking about Ivy League universities in a TV show. I remember saying to my mom, like, what is that about? And initially, the goal was to go to Harvard. So I kind of worked around trying to understand what these universities were looking for. And then I did Harvard undergraduate, the Foreign Policy Initiative, and then the International Relations Scholars Program in grade 8 and grade 9. And then I discovered Georgetown and the International Law Program in grade 10, and I had the privilege of being able to go to Georgetown University last year for a Global Change Makers program in grade 11. So I think in that, I kind of started to understand what they're looking for, and that they're not just focused on marks, they're more focused on things like global exposure and a commitment to community development. So after everything that's happened in the US, and from a logistical and legality perspective, because I'm doing law at Durham, I figured out that I'm hoping to end up being at The Hague doing international law with a focus on disarmament. So I figured out that if I want to work in the EU, then I would have to go to a university that is in Europe and English speaking. And with everything politically going on in the US, I wasn't too sure it was the right fit for me. So I did all my research, and I found out that all these amazing universities that aren't necessarily in the US, but have the caliber that can get me into The Hague, so I can, focus on that area of disarmament.
Girl, I can definitely tell you, you have the caliber to get into The Hague right now. So you are also the founder of Gen Equal. Tell me more about that.
So Gen Equal actually started off as the Sparkle Dust Foundation. So like I said, when I was 8 years old, I actually started the Sparkle Dust Foundation because I was driving to school with my mom. Actually, no, I was on my way to school with my mom, and I went to pick up my helper from Diepsloot, which is not far from where I live. And it was the middle of winter, and children didn't have school shoes. And I couldn't understand how, in the space of 5 kilometers, there was people like me who were so privileged, and the people that didn't have school shoes and access to things. And I think it kind of opened up my eyes, and my mom explained to me that, there's disparities in South Africa. And that's when I committed myself to focusing on community development. And what's become a really, really big problem for me that I'm hoping I can only fix in the future is inequality of opportunity. And because I just can't wrap my head around how just the luck of where you're born can dictate someone's future. And that's kind of where Sparkle Dust started, and it formed into Gen Equal, which now focuses on racial and geographical inequality, as well as gender inequality. And now I look at reform and different programs that I can do, and different community development projects that will contribute to that.
Right. And academic achievement is a partnership between the school and the home environment, It takes two to tango when it comes to that in most instances. What can you tell me about your parents? I want to talk about your parents. Because as a parent, there's always the concern about pushing your child, but not pushing them so hard that you get them to shut down. What lessons did you learn from your parents?
I think my mom and dad are both really, really hard workers. And if I speak about this, it makes me really emotional because I know all the sacrifices that they made for me. And I think the one thing that they did was they taught me about the world. They've taught me that the world is not a fair place. And when you're given opportunity and you're given privilege, it's important that you use it to help other people. And I think those values are what they've instilled in me the most. And I'm an only child, so I'm quite spoiled. But I think my mom and dad taught me that with all of those things comes the important things like taking care of the people around you, not forgetting where you came from. And like I said, my parents are both very, very hard workers that weren't given the same opportunities as me. So they always kind of they trusted in me and trusted that I would do right by everything that they've given me. So I wouldn't say they pushed me in the traditional sense. They pushed me in the sense that they've taught me to take responsibility for my future and pushed me to understand that whatever I do, that it will be the right choice for my future. So I think it's less about pushing than it is about teaching your children that, you know, you want what's best for them, and you're going to, and as children, you want to do what you want to make your parents proud.
Right.
You know,
and before we let you go, and very briefly, what advice do you have for young people in South Africa in any way who are watching this conversation right now in terms of their future choices, but also just practical advice on how to do research and how to get into institutions such as Durham University?
So I think there's one thing that I actually really wanted to speak about, which was marks. And I got 5 distinctions, and there's obviously people in this country that did amazing and got like 10, 11, 12 distinctions. And I think the best thing about these universities is, in South Africa, it's a very conventional approach that you get your marks, you get an APS score, and that's what the universities look at. But I think...
Wait, what's an APS score?
It's all your marks, and there's different levels, and then that's what the universities take to decide whether you're eligible for the degree. So with these universities, they look at your marks in combination with your community development work, your global exposure, and they try to position you in a way that they believe that you can make an impact on the world. So I think for anyone that's feeling a little bit stuck and feeling like you're not going to get somewhere because of your marks, I would say do what you are passionate about. If you're passionate about engineering, if you're passionate about medicine, do research on it, find programs that will intellectually advance you, because these are the things that make you more knowledgeable, but also you enjoy more, so you'll push yourself more. And I think, you know, this doesn't just start, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't just start in matric. It starts from grade 8, from grade 7, looking at what these universities want from you. So they don't just want good marks. Good marks will get you standing in line for the door, but it won't get you into the door. So you kind of have to have a well-balanced portfolio, that it's community development, global exposure, and academics that all work together. And I think it's also just about being yourself. They want diversity. They want students that have a different view on the world. So I think the biggest thing for me is do what you're passionate about. For me, I think my empathy became what I was most driven by. And in using my empathy, I was able to discover what was going on in the world, because I was thinking, well, there's a girl just like me who's sitting in a war zone right now who's probably smarter than me, but I'm awarded the same opportunity. I mean, I'm awarded more opportunities than her. So that made me realize that when you have empathy and when you're driven by your passions, it makes you more curious and it makes you more willing to push yourself, which I think is the biggest drive in achieving success. It's not just good marks. It's not just pushing yourself. It's passion, it's empathy. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being South African.
Well, thank you for your empathy, thank you for your passion, and thank you for being such an inspiration.
Thank you so much for having me, Masechaba.
All right, that was 2025 matriculant heading to Durham University in the United Kingdom, Tanith Madurai.